Good morning, traders. And it's 8:30 and we don't have the non-farm payroll release, do we? No, we don't, because with the government shutdown, and I tweeted this out and I gave Alma credit for her observation. Many of us have observed that all the data is going to come out, but the way she put it, and I like it, that opportunity for vol to be bid up is kind of meh. So volatility is likely going to be continue to be somewhat compressed. Volatility is likely to continue to be sold. We're likely to be continue to be in a more or less positive gamma environment, except for the occasional blip when the algos find a headline to focus on. I think we have I'd have to look at my note, but I think we have like ISM or something. Let me look at my note. We have something today at 10:30 or 9:45 rather. Let me find it. But you guys know how to look that stuff up all by yourself. I'm pretty sure you. Hopefully, you don't need me to tell you that, even though I do tell you that. Give me one second. I can't find it. We have some numbers today. ISM or whatever, and we have Fed Jefferson later in the day. But anyway, the importance of those numbers is more knowing what time they come out, at least for me, so that if I see wiggles, I know not to get all. I know that it's likely just an algo blip and nothing to be concerned about, unless. Anyway, um, so quick recap of yesterday. I thought yesterday was an interesting day. We did that gap up or that grind up in the pre-market. Then we opened up down right near that 67.15, which if memory serves is kind of where we closed. And then we had some structural weakness. We had something at 6,700 and we undercut 6,700 and bottom ticked 66.90, and at around, I don't know what time, let's say 10-ish before this. We bomb ticked like 11:15, but somewhere around here when we gapped up, when we didn't gap up, when we kind of traded up, near the top of the range, I sold calls and I got puts in down here near 66.80-ish and 75. There was some uh, short puts, positive gamma already down there. And then we went down, but at that same time, I put it out on Twitter. An algo came in, and they come in every day. The 5 white gang. We have the 5 white gang, the 10 white gang, and the 100 white gangs. The repeated systematic folks. They came in and sold right around 66.80, 85, 75, somewhere in there. Large size, basically supporting the idea that we're going to bounce. And so as we went down, I sold more, getting juicy premium, being confident, and hopefully, gladly I was right, that we would get this kind of reaction as we got near there. And market makers, as we know, have to buy the closer we come to it as we're heading into a large area. And they did. That sent us up. Volatility compressed somewhat. And then we broke over 6,700 and it was party on. Now, at the same time, at around 11:30, some clever algos after the euro close bought, what was it? 67, 20, and 25 calls. Cheap. And they bought spreads. I thought they were crazy, but I bought something anyway, just in case. It was, I think, when we were like down here, 67.05, like the 2035s or something, like 85, 95 cents. And that turned out to be a beautiful trade. Anyway, so, and we get that information, in the server, and we talk about it and we screen share about it, and hopefully we use it wisely. And we get that from options depth, which we'll go to in a minute. Okay, so the overnight session, we ground up, took out the all-time high, it looks like, right to kind of what was the top of the expected move at the close. We have a lot of stuff right up here, right below 50. A lot of expected move options. Um, Option straddle levels, and we'll talk about those in a minute. And now we're kind of heading back to kind of neutral. If anybody here wants to go on the stage, just let me know. I'll put you on the stage if you want to talk, ask questions. I'm not shy. And so here we are at 25. These are the zones I identified as 615. So obviously things have shifted down. So you just kind of mentally recalibrate down. And I'll write an updated note for my subscribers at around 10:30-ish once we get a little more clarity. Okay, so let's take a look at options depth and see where we are. Now, the first thing, normally I don't articulate the calls and puts separately. I just want to look at the net. And we'll do that for a second real quick. This is market maker position number. And what we see is basically market makers are short a strangle. 6,700, 6,750. Target one of the two. Going in this direction up, market makers have to buy. Going in this direction down, market makers have to sell. They go in the direction of the move. To the left is market maker short, customer long. What's the customer long, you ask? Customer, what side of the table am I on? Yeah. Market makers are short. Let me do the calls. Hold on. Market makers are long these calls because customers bought them. Let's go to customer side. It's easier to see. Customers sold puts and bought calls. A synthetic long, it looks like. I thought it was a synthetic short. I had it backwards. It looks like a synthetic long right here at 6,700. And so market makers are short the opposite. But based on the deltas, it nets out I just like to look at net because at the end of the day, that's what has to be hedged. It nets out to a target of 5,700 where we see does it hold or does it break. That's it. It's that simple. In the middle here, kind of where we are, size is not huge. 340 contracts, 500, 500. So locally we have 57.10, 15, kind of where we are a little bit. 20. We have basically free to move around the cabin. If over 30, we can get right up in this zone, in this void where we traveled in the pre-market, and we could travel again in this zone from 67.30 to 67.45, which was, let's go here. Okay, so here was the expected move. In my note, you might hear me say the weekly expected move. The way I do it is Friday to Friday. Friday at the close, this magic indicator from TheoTrade. It's free on their website somewhere. Um, just draws the expected move on my chart. Nice, handy dandy. And so here was the top of the expected move as of last Friday. And that was 43, call it 40, 50. And, somehow magically we don't break it. Once in a while we do, or sometimes we overshoot and reclaim. So I'm willing to bet on the wisdom of the options market. Now this and the other one, and this is on a think or swim indicator. This one is called expected move Mobius. Yes, this is what it's called, and I'm pretty sure it's a free one, or maybe I found it on one of those sites. What happened? I just screwed everything up. Where'd it go? I guess it has to populate. Well, hopefully it'll populate. If not, it doesn't matter. My toss is always slow and funky. All right, well, while it's doing its thing, let's not bore you with waiting for my think or swim to work because that's kind of par for the course. So let's go back to here. What I was showing you was the top of the expected move and the expected move that we have for from yesterday to today, which was a little different, and that was all in my notes. I don't have my note in front of me. I should keep it in front of me next time. But we do have it on the, I think it was down here near 80. It was the upper expected move from the pre-market. The one was Mobius expected move was the one that does it day to day, and the other one is TheoTrade, and you have to go to the TheoTrade website to get it, or DM me and I'll figure out how to share it. And that goes for anyone on Twitter, subscriber or not, whatever. Okay. So we have this systematic. I'll go here, and this is market makers are short calls, long puts down here around 10,000 contracts. I put this little thing here. Isn't that cute? And let's look at depth view to see the actual position numbers. And here we are. Okay, so this is market makers. So market makers are long. They sell into the direction of the move, and then they buy as it moves away. So here's that zone, 67.30 to 64.85. Small numbers, 603 in the morning. They come in with X thousands of contracts, and that pretty much gets swamped, especially small numbers like this. 6,700 doesn't net out too much because we have the calls and the puts roughly equal. So, clearly it looks like somebody bought calls and sold puts. So synthetic long at 6,700, maybe against a short position. This is obviously an institutional fancy trade. Um, and so below 6,700, there's not much. So there's really not much in the chain. We have speed is slow up in this direction. Below 6,700, we start to speed up if we get to 6,690. Quick target down to 6880, not 6680. Now, I'm not saying that we get there. I'm just saying that that's what this is showing. And the systematic trade from probably one DTE ago is down here, the 100 wide gang. And here's the 100 wide gang all the way down here. They sold 20,000. And they're going to be up here somewhere at 68.15. And they'll show up today selling somewhere up here for Monday. And usually they leave it alone. Yesterday, when we ramped up, not yesterday, the day before, they actually rolled up their short strike from 67.50 to 67.65. First time I saw them do that. Now I'm trying to find something here. Give me 1 second. I'm not quite as prepared as I'd like to be. I'm actually trying to find my own post so I can read my notes. Here it is. Okay. Yeah, so the straddle when we were at 35 was 20 points, 21 points, which would put us, okay, let's go over this again now that I have my notes in front of me. So at 6:15, when we were like up here somewhere, we had a straddle of 20-ish points, which was putting us down in this range. In the overnight session, the closing straddle when we were at 67.15 put us at 66.85 down here, where we saw we had some negative gamma, and the top was at 45. So top keeps coming out up here, so I'm going to say we ain't going there. And the bottom keeps coming out down there. So 67.15 was the morning straddle. Overnight straddle had us down the closing straddle had us down in this range. And that's kind of what we got going on. So 67.20, in my mind, this is an inflection point. Or we could say green open, red open, or red from open, green from, red from close, green from open. Okay, what do we have here? Fed, CNBC have to worry about what happens if artificial intelligence capital spending begins to lag. Not sure what the implication of that is, other than let's stimulate the economy. In terms of, let's get back to, so what's the expectation for today? While gamma is overall positive in the complex, you see a lot of green, big numbers. Locally, we kind of have weak spots below 6,700. We have to wait for the day to start for it to firm up. Here's the overall gamma situation, and Yeah, if we get up towards 67, 75, whatever, there's a lot of suppressing gamma. In here, where the range that we're in, and the way you use this, blue is market maker long, gamma slow speed suppressing as we go up, but then buying as we go down, and the inverse before. Red is market maker short, gamma customer long. If we head in that direction, that's the direction of the move that they hedge in. So if we're at 6710, 6700 at 2:30, 3 o'clock, you kind of have this magnetic pull down toward 6680 with the broad zone being 6700, 6660. This is going to change intraday, but that's kind of where we are now. 1020, kind of where we are, is one likely zone. If they start buying again, 6730, 6750, and then you have on top, which is not going to happen. Okay, question. That's a good question. Which sounds most important, at market close, overnight, or at the market open? If I had to pick one, I would say at the close. At the close. But then there's also some wisdom in using the straddle kind of as a moving target. And what I mean by that is, let's just say hypothetically, and we'll pull up an option chain for this. Oops, hold on. I'm going to remove it. I'm going to type in my password without 1,000 people watching. Not that I don't trust people, but I was born at night, but not last night. Okay. So here's what I'm going to tell you about important, not important. Let's go to SPX. So let's take a quick look at the straddle. So the straddle is kind of a moving target, but like I said, the at the close straddle is kind of what I would say is the most official, for lack of a better word. That's where the positioning came in, and that's going to kind of tends to be where the larger positions are that set the edges. Now let's take a look at this. So E-mini right now is saying 21 points, same as it was before, 22 points. And I'm showing you that to show you this. So where are we at now? We're at 20. Okay. So 22 points is what the expected range is. And so we want to look at, let's just make this delta. And so we want to look at where the 20-25 delta is, that's at the edges of the expected move, because that's what market makers are going to have to hedge, or is going to be sensitive to convexity, and we have to kind of keep that in mind. So 6690, 6700, we have some weakness there, and that's where the bottom of the straddle is. So that could, so we know that could be a little dangerous. And on top, 6645, that's where the stall is. So at this point, that's convex on the way up, but on the way down, well, actually, it's not convex because they're short there. So that's kind of going to be muted on the way up. Now, as we move and this number changes, you kind of look at where the action is. So right now, that's where the action is going to be. the overnight straddle range kind of set the tone for where that range is going to be. I know that's a little convoluted, but hopefully that makes sense. Do I see us revisiting 6,700? Probably. Probably. And actually, last night, I didn't do it in this account, I did it in the other account. I'm not going to dig it up. When I saw that at the close, but um, before the trading stopped, and I looked at the next day thing, I bought a put fly. I think I bought something like that, maybe. I don't remember exactly where I bought it. Something, something in here trying to get the move toward the convex 6700, having that in my sights, and then selling something further away. It might have been something. I don't think I bought the 6700. I know I bought above it. I probably did something like this, a cheapie for was probably a similar price on the idea that we get the move down, then I can kind of play with it or add. So yeah, I think that we have a pretty good chance of hitting it, retesting it. Now again, it's always conditional if then. Just like yesterday, we kind of were looking pretty good at the open, before the pre-market at the open. We kind of hung around, near that 20 for a while. Then VIX started to pop, and we broke 6,700. And then we had whatever it was that made us reclaim those short puts. And now as we're right at the bottom of the shop, look at that magic. Oh, now let me say something about the levels. Again, they're conditional. So let's just say hypothetically, we might see the bottom of the shop hold once, twice, three times. That doesn't mean it's going to hold for the rest of the day forever. So each of these levels are going to cycle through those zones, so to speak. So if we break that straddle bottom of the chop area, then we have the 6,700 pivot. What's going to happen there? We have that big systematic whatever it is over there. If we break that, well, then we have theoretically continuation down towards here. Why did I put 6680? Because we have this. The biggest scratch on the table, as my friend who used to refinish furniture says, is down here. So I have to put that on my chart. Even though it's outside the expected move, even though I don't expect it to happen, I have to respect that. It's there. Got to respect 6750, round number, and we have some long calls there. 3,000. Got to respect it. It's there. Far-fetched as it is, you got to respect 6750, although to fight our way through all this would take a minor miracle, but stranger things have happened. Anybody want, David, I'm going to throw you on the stage. If you don't want to comment, you don't have to. Okay. I know, David. Go ahead. You want to say anything? And please, go ahead.
Just absorbing everything today. I've been trying to trade butterflies without a whole lot of luck the last week or so.
Okay, so let's talk about that. And let me just freestyle right now, which for those of you that know me know that freestyling is kind of how I roll. So am I looking at freestyling? 6715, 6730, a fly-ish looking structure right here. Now, I'm not predicting that we close in this fly, whatever, but looks like sometime during the day that should be in the course of travel. So what I might do, and let's take a peek. And I'll probably put this in for fun. So I like that fly right there. I have another account. I'll throw it in here just for fun. Um,
So let me ask you: do you ever play butterflies where
what do you
you're
mean?
using the largest local gamma strike as the center of your fly, and then playing 15 points on the other side of that?
Sometimes not quite as mechanical as that.
Okay.
Using a little common sense and a little tweaking.
Yeah.
I know that's sort of the official playbook, so to speak.
The official
But
playbook hasn't been working very well the last.
exactly, and maybe that's why I'm not the official playbook guy. It just seems to me that you know. So this is the largest gamma strike, but we know we ain't going there. So
Yeah.
what's the point? Um,
I'll tell you what,
now,
it does seem to work pretty well, and
go
that's for
ahead.
the condor man. Has got his iron condors in there, and if you
Yeah,
play the one of the market
yeah,
makers, that seems to work.
yeah. Right. And and so a good way to think of that is nothing works all the time.
Right.
Some things work most of the time, et cetera, et cetera. And so, and that's why I'm not a fan of mechanical. I'm not a fan of back testing. You never step in the same stream twice. Everything is always different. But that said, there are certain tendencies and that we see. And yes, when there's some clear levels where you expect it to do that, fine.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
see it today though.
yeah, I mean, the main thing I see today is this target, this attraction down to 6,700,
Yeah.
but it's a round number. We could bounce there, so I don't want to buy that and end up we get there and we stall. So that's why I set up this put one. Now on top, let's get see what happens because we know well, we don't know anything. I think, and just because I think it doesn't mean it's true, and I'm really clear of that. One of the things I've learned with more than a century, more than half a century of introspection and accumulated wisdom and lots of mistakes is that's good. Don't believe what I think. It's a thought. Don't attach to it. It's a thought.
Right.
Um, um,
So let me ask you a question.
so I like if I wanted to do something on the call side,
Uh huh.
6715, but we're already there. That's going to be expensive.
Yep.
So maybe, let me think out loud here. So what does that look like? $1.65. I don't know if I want to spend that. So I don't know that it's going to be much different this way. $1.50, same difference. So if it's going to be the same difference, I'd rather maybe do something like this or see if there's a cheap lotto up here somewhere. Maybe something like that. I don't really see something good at the call side yet.
I didn't either. I looked up there also.
I just don't see it. Like not every day is great for everything.
Let me ask you this: when would you use a one
So,
three two? What would be the
oh,
circumstances?
when would I use a what?
A 132, an unbalanced butterfly.
Oh, I use them a lot.
But
I use them a lot.
what would
Um,
what would the circumstances be that you would want to use that?
okay, so All right, and let's build one out right here, right now, because I could think of a circumstance.
Okay.
All right, now let's go over here. So, not as great today because of this, but let's just pretend. Okay, so circumstance. I don't think we're going, say, to 67.50.
Okay.
Okay, let's just start with that as an assumption. So I'm willing to sell the 67.50s more than once. I'm willing to unbalance where I don't think we're going.
Okay.
So let me just kind of set this up. I have no idea what it's going to look like. And let's bring this up here. I'd be willing to do that for a buck 20 credit.
Okay.
A
So
buck credit. So, and then sometimes I might be willing. So I'm actually going to put that in. I kind of like it. Thank you for the idea. Uh, and let's go back to this guy, right? To the put. I'm not. Another way I might play this might be something like that and unbalance it here.
wow. So you're actually using it as an unbalanced condor. I'm sorry, an unbalanced butterfly, but kind of like a condor also for the
Yeah,
low
yeah,
side.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking now. Another often what you'll see me do. I don't know how closely you watch some of the crazy trades I do in the room because I do a lot fast and I
Yeah.
try to explain them, but sometimes it gets too fast. Um, and let's just go with a hypothetical on the put that I built. Okay,
Uh
where
huh.
is it here? Okay, okay. So let's just say we're here, and we start to move down, and I paid 55 cents, and it's 85 cents, a dollar. Do I want to sell it? Whatever. And I get distracted. I turn around, and we kind of bounce. And it's 20 cents. And rather than take the 20, the 30-cent loss or wherever it is, I look at the structure, or maybe let's pretend I paid a buck for it, or buck
Okay.
50. I say, you know what? I'm going to add a credit spread right in there where we already are. And I'll start to layer stuff in to what's already there.
So it doesn't start as an unbalanced fly.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Usually it doesn't.
Okay.
Now, when I'll do a broken wing butterfly, sometimes unbalanced, and today might be a good day for it, and let's talk it through. The bottom, as we could see here, is kind of nasty. We got that there.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think we get there, but that's kind of nasty looking. So, just to sort of save myself some grief, and just so that you don't sit through fake pain and say, "Oh my God, what's going to happen?"
Yeah.
You know, I might do something like, and I'm going to take a look at this right now. So let's just say, what do I like right here right now? Oh, 50, 60. Let's just start off here as not bad, 45 cents. Maybe be a little more aggressive. 15 wide, 50. That's not bad. Okay, start off with that in the marginal thinking department. That used to be in Mad comic book. They used to have that.
Okay.
And that's only 10-cent credit. That kind of sucks. So if I wanted to monetize this, I might do it like that. If I just wanted it more like a buffer, I might do that.
Oh, so you're not okay. Yeah, my understanding was wrong.
Oh no, well, I don't know if your understanding was wrong. I don't exactly do it the way they
So
do it.
your buffer that you're putting in, your other credit is still 10 points north, if you will.
Yeah.
Uh, you're not adding another credit at the same strike.
Right. So I'm making it it's really an unbalanced condor, not an unbalanced butterfly.
Right.
It's
You
like
were
an asymmetrical, unbalanced condor, I guess, if we, technically had to give it a name.
Yeah, and now let me understand this. So the reason for doing that is you can get a larger credit to pay for that long, correct?
Right. I have a larger credit to pay for that long.
Gotcha. That makes
I
sense.
may or may not monetize it. If not, I got 80 cents, 75-cent credit for it. That's okay anyway. And the other thing is, when you're sitting there in the moment and lizard brain says, oh crap, look at this, I'm down XYZ, the thing is falling like a rock, get out, get out, get out. Danger, Will Robinson. This is going to, one, your P&L is not going to look so bad. Two, you're going to have something to monetize or to work with. A lot of times sell this I'll sell this and roll it down or do something with it. That's one of those times where you see me put in my fill trades, and you see all these kind of like, bought, sold. What's he doing there? A lot of times, I might, let's just say, we go down, and I'll monetize this. This will be gone, and then I might buy a cheap debit spread inside this, for the profit that I made on this or less than that, just to buffer it just in case. And then we turn around, it looks good. I might use this short strike to sell something more against or monetize something. I'll kind of use this as something that I'm going to play with throughout the day or until things change. And the same thing on the top. Now, that's not always a setup. I don't always do that. And the other thing I've noticed is, and I've mentioned this before, if you buy two things, okay, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll buy a 5 wide fly somewhere near the money or whatever kind of makes sense. Might buy a 5 wide fly. And then when the situation presents itself, if it does, I might layer a 10 wide fly in right on top of it with the same middle.
Yeah, now that I've been doing. That works well.
And that works well. If you want me to explain to you chapter and verse the Greeks and why it does, I can't. I could probably sit down and figure it out, but it doesn't matter. It works.
Yeah,
I've done it. I've done it many times, and it just works.
I've done them 15 wide and then layered a 10 wide on top of that.
Same difference here.
Yeah,
When you layer them in, it just tends to work, especially if you see what you're if you see what you're, if you kind of see something on the gamma map or whatever you're looking at that indicates that, not kind of blindly. You know what I mean?
right.
Okay, let me see. There's a question here. People always say that there's the largest gamma spots act like a magnet to price. I don't understand why. Is that because of market maker hedging? It's because of market maker hedging, and it acts like a magnet only if we're close enough. So remember, gamma is conditional. What do I mean by that? Quick step backwards. Why do we even bother to look at market maker positions anyway? What does it matter? Well, it's because market makers, once the trade goes in, they hedge delta neutral, and then it's a prescription, quote unquote. If delta, so they have to balance that delta. If we move up, the delta is going to change. Let's just say a call, it's going to get higher. So they're going to have to hedge by buying or selling a certain amount, depending if they're long or short. If they're long that option, they're going to have to sell as we move toward it. So how much is delta going to change? Oh, well, that's gamma. Gamma tells us that. Okay, so now we know that if we head there, then market makers are going to have to hedge in that direction. But just because it's the largest strike, it doesn't mean it's necessarily significant. As I offer you exhibit A, 68.15 is the largest strike on the chain for today. We're not going there. I don't care if it's the largest strike. It's immaterial.
Well,
So, so people, I'm answering the question there. So people say stuff just to say stuff, and we might say that the largest strike within range okay, getting back to the straddle question, the largest strike within the current straddle range is going to be significant. Why the straddle range? Because the straddle is going to give you the most convex gamma, kind of automatically. So you look at the straddle range, you see it's 15 points, well, let's just say, half hour from now. Okay, that's going to be the most convex option. What's going on there? Are market makers locally long there? Are they short there? Is nothing going on there? And then that's going to give me an idea. So, I wish I could, tell you people that there's a simple rule of thumb, but there's multiple layers of thinking. And that's why I jokingly, or not jokingly anymore, call my approach quantuition. Quantitative, these are numbers, these are where the lines are, this is the hedging, it's quantitative. And there's intuition, which is just being able to see how they layer together.
yeah.
And the reason I came up with the quantuition thing, I'll tell you guys a quick funny backstory, then I'm going to go. So I was doing one of these things. This goes back months, April, I think it was. And I was looking at whatever I was looking at, maybe let's just say looking at something like this. And I said, you know what? We're here, but my intuition tells me we're going to stall here. And I saw somebody, you're welcome, I'm happy to explain. I saw somebody put a derisive comment in the comments, intuition, LOL, what about back testing or some bullshit like that, And I thought about it, and now I'm also a retired psychologist, and I just happened to read a book by this guy Gerzinger, who's like the lead researcher, I think he's at University of Pennsylvania, on intuition. And it's a thing, and he demonstrates and shows you all the experiments, whatever. And having just read that, having seen that comment, and being willing to be self-reflective and say, well, when I say intuition, am I just making shit up? Or is there something there? Now, we know from the book, Think Fast, Think Slow, that there is fast information processing that happens outside of our awareness, and our brain just gives us the result, not the, doesn't show its work. You just get the results. But we also know that our brain is programmed to give us false positives. What's a false positive? Real simple. I'm a hunter-gatherer, and I'm walking in the forest, and I hear the woods something rustling in the bush. False positive, it's a lion, run. What happens if it's not a lion, it's a rabbit, and it's dinner? Well, I might have missed dinner, but I didn't get eaten by a rabbit.
Yeah.
So my put spreads are going against me. I got a rabbit there, I got dinner, but maybe it's a lion. False positive, click the button, take the loss. Rather than investigate cautiously, well, wait a minute. There hasn't been a lion here for 6 years. There's a rabbit nest over there. The rabbit nest is market maker, long gamma right above me, big size. So maybe I'm getting a false positive here. But intuition tells you one thing, so it depends what your intuition can give you, a false positive or a false negative too. So there has to be mindful intuition. I hope that and then now we're kind of going adrift, but hey, I'm going to go adrift. And so, yeah.
I think a lot of is pattern recognition too, isn't it?
1,000%. It's pattern recognition. And so in the book Outliers, where basically he talks about how people are outliers, whoever is Bill Gates or the Beatles or whatever it is. One of the things they talk about, and the way we make doctors or professionals, is like 10,000 hours of experience doing something, and you kind of start to get it.
Yeah.
And so they gave the example. One of the examples, they went to the Sorbonne to like to the music whatever. And we could say that based on selection criteria, they're all talented kids. Everybody's pretty much, it's the difference between the one that becomes like a major composer or a major whatever, and one that ends up being a college music teacher is not because they're less musically talented, whatever. And they even detest to see that, based on whatever. Turns out the ones that made it were the ones that spent their time practicing while other kids were out partying or just, hanging out. It's hours of experience. And that's where the pattern recognition comes from. And, not to toot my own horn, but I'll do 50 to 100 SPX trades a day, 50 easily. A lot of times it's, two lots, one lots, whatever, buy it, close it, sell it. I've been doing this since 2017 at least. So I've seen a lot of it. So my brain, I look at an option chain. A lot of times I can just, I don't have to look at it. I can look at the chain and see the way the prices are going and see the way my P&L is going and kind of intuit what's going on. I can't explain to you how I do it. I can help you learn it on your own. I can help you develop your own pattern. And that's why I encourage people to write their daily plan, whatever they write. My daily plan I started writing at Gamma Edge. Paul Duncan, I was there. I'm still there. I don't really hang out there much. I was there, one of the betas there. They're great. He's a really smart guy. And he used to do a daily plan and encourage us to do it. So I started doing it the way he did it, following his format. But my brain didn't process information the same way that he did. I was like fitting a square peg into a round hole. Then I started modifying the order I did it. He looked at this. I don't want to look at that first. He wants to find this first. No, I want to find this first. And then by looking at his and not critiquing it like it's wrong, looking at, well, how does my brain look at the landscape, the picture? And so my daily plan, the roadmap, as you're going to see, is the way my brain processes it. Feel free to use that as a template and have yours after 6 months look nothing like it. That's fine. I'm not, what I mean? It's not like a test where you get an A on the test. It's something that I found helpful to me, and I was resistant to that. I've always been the intuitive guy. I don't need a written plan. I'll just figure it out as we go along, which worked, but once in a while it didn't. The more I have the structured plan, the more it reminds me. And my son sometimes would text me, years ago, so or even call you, would say, "So how'd you do today?" "Oh, I did good." And I said, "Yeah, you know what? I took a loss. I didn't follow my own plan." And sometimes he would say to me in the morning, "Good luck, Dad. Follow your plan." And every once in a while, I still need to do that when things are going against you. Wait, what did I say in my plan? What does it look like now? Yeah, we're fine. Tell Lizard Brain to go somewhere else. Anyway, did I answer your question about the magnet and all that? Yeah, I see. Thanks for explaining. Okay, well, it's 9:23. Got to get some trades set up in the real account, quote unquote, in the larger account. Let's see what we have sitting here. So I always just, the trades I put in the morning, I put in and they fill. And these I kind of manage mechanically. I don't have time to babysit these. They come in, a put spread, I put in a little less than 50% buy to close initially. So if I got 40, I'll put in 15. If I got 50, I'll put in 20. And I just walk away. If I look at it hours later or if I see something happening. Well, it's a lot of times I don't look at it at all. And these were the trades that I put in yesterday while we were doing this. And so here's what was this? This was a put fly I bought in the morning for 130. I got out at 150. It would have been a lot more. We ended up closing right here. It would have been zero if I had held on to it till the end, but it got up to around $3 or $4. So a lot of times you put these in, and they're put in for a reason on a conditional path, and we end up there. No losers, all winners. I could have won more if I didn't put in 50%, whatever. And so these are the ones that are working today. Let's look at today. Let's add something else today for fun. Um, now the price has changed. Let's add something else today for fun. I'm willing to say 55, 75. I'll put that in at 50-cent credit if I can get it. 55, it's not going to happen, but I'll put it in. On the bottom, what's my no-brainer trade? 66.60, 66.40, 80 cents. I'm not going to get it because the spreads are wonky. This is zero bid ask, but we see 30. I could probably get 50, maybe 50 cents. Put that in. I'll come revisit it, and that's it. Thank you. Okay, I don't have time to put in a 5 wide. Let me do a quick 5 wide for the 5 wide crew. I feel a sense of obligation. For the 5 wide crew, I would put in, let's see what that is. Whoa, that's crazy. Oh, I have too much there. For the 5 wide crew, I might put in, well, I can't see the price there, so I might put in something like, why is it? Ah, crap. I might put in something like this. That's a little dangerous. I might be, yeah, 5 points lower, but I don't have a bid ask spread. And on top, I might put in something like 50, 55. Try and get 60 cents for that, or move it 5 away. Try and get 40 cents, something like that, 50 cents. I know, that's why. So I would look at 90, 85 on the bottom, or even 85, 80, depending where you can get, and 50 or over 50 on top, just to make sure. That's where I would look. Okay, that's it. I got 2 minutes. So I've definitely overstayed my welcome for myself. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Like, retweet, restack, share the YouTube video, tell your friends and neighbors and your children. And thanks, everybody, for coming.